Well, good morning. Welcome back to another homegrown lecture series. Today we have Shannon Dietz, as you see. He's going to have a guest with this program. I don't know if you can believe it. It is November. We have gone through 11 homegrowns this year. We only have one more left, which is next month. That is me, Brandy Keller, with Plantable Christmas Tree Alternatives. But I'm going to go ahead and let Shannon go ahead and get started. Shannon, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Shannon Dietz, County Extension Agent for Agriculture and Natural Resources with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service based here in Harris County. Thank you for allowing us to come into your home or your office or wherever you're watching from this morning, whether you be from the state of Texas or one of our many followers from around the country or around the world. We're excited to have you here this morning. And we're going to be talking a little bit about holiday meats, maybe some alternatives that you might not have thought about before. And we're also going to be talking about Texas agriculture, one of my favorite things to share information about, and talk about how Texas plays an important role in the agriculture industry as far as worldwide production and feeding not only the people here in the state of Texas, but worldwide. And so before we go any further, I would like to introduce my special guest to you today. We have Ms. Kiki that is joining us. Ms. Kiki is a volunteer with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, and we are so glad to have you here today. Kiki, how you doing?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
And hello, everyone.
Yes, so Ms. Kiki, like I said, is a volunteer with AgriLife Extension, and she can tell you a little bit more, maybe some about her volunteer opportunities a little bit later on. But Ms. Kiki is, we both share passion for cooking and really talking food and kind of foodie and stuff like that. So Ms. Kiki, you have a business that you work with youth and everything. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. I do have a business. It's called Bake with Confidence. It is culinary classes that I provide for youth ages 8 through 18, as well as adults. Like you said, food is definitely one of my passions, more than likely my therapy, more than anything. And I really enjoy just being able to share my love for the kitchen and for cooking, and just being able to educate the youth and anyone who wants to find out about cooking, and just letting them know that it's not really a task or a job. It's it's life.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
life.
Well, and you kind of grew up the same with me, cooking families and different things. And we're going to be talking about traditions as we get into the holidays. Obviously, the
Yes.
holidays are right around the corner.
Yes.
Christmas is knocking on the door. Next thing you know, Thanksgiving will be here. And so we're already into that mode. And so, with that being said, some of the things that we're going to be sharing with you today, some of our objectives are we're going to be talking about different cuts of meat. And we're going to be talking about not only the cuts of meat, but the different products that we get meat from, whether it be pork, poultry, beef, and different things like that. Kiki's a wealth of experience and wealth of knowledge on food safety. So she's going to be sharing some tips and tricks and everything with you on that. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about cooking methods, some nutritional value of beef, and then we're also going to be talking about thawing times.
Yes.
Which is always on the forefront of everybody's minds at this time of the year
Yes. We got
with
to get those
turkeys.
turkeys
Yeah,
thawed
yeah.
properly.
You know, I was at a local grocery store yesterday, and they're already out.
Yes, they are.
So uh, we, I strongly suggest for people to go ahead and start selecting their turkey now because the prices for turkey we have been informed are going
Going
to be
up.
going up, like with most cuts of meat. And so don't wait till the last minute because, as always, you'll kind of be left with the bottom of the freezer and stuff like that, you
Right.
know, and
And a
everything.
lot of people wait thinking that the price is going to go down.
Right.
So I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because the prices are going to go up. They're already higher now than they've been in the last, I know, 5 years. So
Yeah.
it's about time to start getting your game plan ready for
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
and I know even one of the grocery stores I was at yesterday was running a special. So check your specials right now. If you
Yes.
buy a ham, you got a free turkey.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
a pretty good deal. So
Oh,
I'll tell you
yes.
about that on the side when we're finished with that.
Sounds
So,
good.
so I know we have a couple of different traditions and everything like that going back and talking about families and you know, what was important in my family. And, you know, I want to encourage everybody to maybe type in the chat box what maybe some of their family traditions are, or if they have a favorite meal that they've cooked in the past, or whether it be a main dish or a side dish or something. Sometimes people are really known for like their mac and cheese, or they
Oh,
do a
yeah.
really good mashed potato, or if it's a dessert or something like that. Type it in the chat box, and we'll be glad to get some responses from those a little bit later on. But Kiki, what about some of the traditions that you had growing up and stuff like that, or maybe that you're trying to implement in your family now?
Oh my goodness. You know, I'm gonna give you I'm not what I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna go into the dressing and stuffing debate
Oh
because we'll
yeah.
be here until next
You know,
Thanksgiving.
that was on the tip of my.
No, no way. And I have the funniest story about that. So last year, my husband, who's my husband now, he decided that he was going to prepare dressing because I had been cooking dressing for everyone and teaching everyone how to cook dressing. So he was like, okay, I'm going to do it this year. And so I was like, oh Lord, please, please don't let him mess up the dressing because that's it.
Mhm.
And so I let him prepare the dressing. And oh my goodness, when I got up and I saw the boxes of, you know, the
Uh-oh.
top
Yeah.
brand,
Uh-huh.
you know, not the oven, but the other word.
Right.
And I was like, I'm in trouble. And sure enough, he made stuffing. And I was like, this is not dressing. But once again, my husband's not Southern, so I should have known better, but I trusted him anyway. So he made the stuffing and not dressing. And so for Christmas, I had to make sure that he knew what dressing was
Mm.
made with cornbread. So, yeah, so definitely dressing is a major for me. It is necessary, as well as my different greens, my collards, my mustards, my turnips, my sweet potatoes. And of course, everyone wants to know who made the macaroni and cheese. So,
Mhm.
yes, and as far as dessert, I have to always make peach cobbler.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Southern
it's
tradition.
a family thing. They have to have it, and I'm good with it because I love making it and I love to eat it. So,
Yeah. That's a good deal. So it's kind of funny that you talk about the dressing and the stuffing debate. For me, being from South Louisiana, if
oh
it's
yes,
dressing, it has rice in it. So I'm
yes,
thinking
the
rice
rice
dressing
dressing,
kind of type
yes,
thing, as opposed to stuffing, which is
cornbread
cornbread.
dressing.
Right, exactly. So I grew up in the middle of rice country in South Louisiana, and so rice is pretty much a staple.
Yes.
And actually, we have some actual rice that I took out of my farm field back in South Louisiana. So in case any of you
Awesome.
are wondering what that grass is, that is actual grass where the rice kernels haven't been harvested yet. And then all the products that you see on the front of our display here are actual products that are produced or grown here in the state of Texas, with the exception of the apples. Apples can be grown hobby-wise and so forth, but everything else that you see on the table, even the pecan pie, guys, the pecan pie, Texas is one of the leading producers in pecans, only behind Georgia. And so everything from the Carol syrup is produced by sugarcane, which is grown here. Wheat and dairy products to produce the butter is grown and made into the crust. So the whole pie, you could say, is actually made from here in Texas. Along with squash, you'll see even the pumpkins are grown here. A lot of people don't realize that we have a pretty good pumpkin industry. So we have those, obviously some jalapenos, and then we even bring in the green industry here. Texas is very prominent in the green industry with the number of new houses and apartments and industries that's being built. There's always ornamental and sod and trees and everything being grown here in the state of Texas that contribute to the overall economy. Texas actually is ranked third in the United States, behind the states of California and the state of Iowa in the total production of agriculture receipts. So that is
Wow.
something that we should be very, very proud of. And, you know, these farmers that give their time and their sweat and tears and everything, these products just don't show up overnight, Kiki.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
this is over a year, you know, months and months of progress, months of hard work, months of working late, getting up early, and different things like that to produce all these products that we, you know, just kind of sometimes the regular consumer takes advantage of,
Takes for granted.
you know, that they don't realize that this is always going to be there.
Right.
But we have the American farmer, and especially the Texas farmer, to thank for all the food that we see here that is put on our tables each and every day.
Each and every day. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So with that being said, we're going to go into a little bit more. You know, one of the traditions is in my family. We talked about the dress, and my mom, who's passed away. My parents have both passed away. Had an oyster dressing,
Oh,
and
yes.
that was really good. And she made that with cornbread,
Mhm.
and we always had pork like around the holidays because pork. For those of you, you know, I grew up in the country, and most people who grew up in the country, that's whenever hogs were slaughtered and
Yes.
stuff like that. And so you had fresh meat all the time. That's when the sausage was made.
Yeah.
That's when the bacon was made. That's when the roasts were cut and everything. So you had all of that fresh and available. So during the holidays, during Thanksgiving and Christmas, and every Christmas is when the roast comes out and different things like that.
Yeah.
And to me, you know, we've eaten other things, but there's nothing better than a fresh
Fresh.
pork roast and
Mhm.
stuff. So we've already talked a little bit about the agriculture and so forth like that. So I will tell you too that we have some door prizes that we're going to be giving away. Kiki, what you think about that?
Yay!
Yeah. So pay attention a little bit further into the presentation, and we're going to be telling you about those. And so we'll tell you how you can win one of those. But let's go ahead and move into talking about food safety right now, Kiki, before we get started talking about the meats and everything. Let's go ahead and get the monster out the room right now.
Yeah,
And
let's clear the air about the food safety and definitely the importance of food safety. In our family, we like to tease my sister Sanja because we call her Miss Food Safety because she is on top of everything from how long has this been out? What's the temperature of this? It's like she walks around, we call her just a human thermometer because she's checking every single thing, which is great because that is what is protecting us from E. coli, salmonella, and all other foodborne illnesses. And you just have to be careful. So definitely make sure you're washing your hands. Make sure you are cleaning those cutting boards. Make sure you are not cross-contaminating by cutting up your meat with the same knife without washing it, with cutting up your vegetables. So you have to stay on top of that. Once again, make sure you are cleaning those cutting boards. Make sure you clean those knives. Make sure you are washing your hands. I wash my hands a lot. I also wear gloves, but I'm still washing my hands. And even with the gloves, I'm making sure I'm changing them out because, you know, you're busy in the kitchen. So you're going from here to there, picking this, picking that. But you have to make sure you pay attention to that.
yeah, you don't realize how much you touch.
Yes.
You know, especially like when it comes to poultry products.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you're dealing with turkey or dealing with chicken or anything like that. So that's where the issue really comes in. And so, you know, let's go ahead and let's just move into like thawing times and stuff like that. So what is the proper method for thawing? Because, you know, people will actually like leave it out on the counter.
We're not
you know,
doing that anymore.
people put it in the sink.
Water. We're not doing any of that. We are either going to thaw in the refrigerator, or we're also going to use the microwave. So don't downplay your microwave. Use that microwave. Use that defrost button on that microwave and thaw your food there. If you need it right away, go ahead and use that microwave. But we are going to thaw in the refrigerator. And make sure it's at the bottom of the refrigerator. Put it in a pan, whatever you feel like you need to do to make sure that there are no drippings that are going anywhere else in your refrigerator.
Yeah, and that's a good point because meat does have natural juices, whether you're talking about poultry, turkey, you know, beef, you know, anything like that. So it is going to spread.
Yes, and that's, you don't want it at the top, because you could go to the store, come back, and you could come back to a total mess and everything. Like if you put it at the top and you have your greens here, your green beans, your corn, or whatever else, your butter, all those drippings are going to come down, and you have to throw away everything. So and we don't have time to waste any food or any money on food.
No.
So let's make sure we have it at the bottom, put it in a pan or bowl or whatever to make sure that those drippings are caught, just in case it happens.
What about any advice, like whenever the meal is prepared and stuff like that, and you have people that are dropping by for like hours throughout the day and stuff like that, and then we just pretty much leave everything out on the counter, and it might be an unseasonably warm day or something like that,
2 hours max. That's it. 2 hours. And I really suggest that if you know you have people that are going to be stopping by later, go ahead and prepare them a plate. Put it in the refrigerator, warm it up when they get there. That's my biggest suggestion, because I'm telling you, if you have food safety like my sister, we're coming. 2 hours, it's a wrap. So if that dressing is good, as I like my dressing, I'm not gonna want that to be thrown out. But there's no compromise. It's 2 hours and that's it. So go ahead and put it up. And there's nothing wrong with you putting warm foods in the refrigerator either. I remember hearing, you're not supposed to put hot food, warm food in the refrigerator, but yes, you can, especially if it's still warm. And like if you make a big pot of gumbo, if you make a big pot of stew, go ahead and separate it into smaller bowls. It'll cool much faster.
Yeah.
Get it in the refrigerator.
You just don't want to put it in there while it's like super hot,
don't want it boiling
kind of type
hot.
thing, right?
No, you don't want it boiling hot, but it's okay to put it in there warm.
Yeah.
It's okay. I promise you.
Yeah.
Trust me, you want that.
What about thawing times and everything? I see you have a little note here as far as like thawing times.
I'm going to go back to the turkey, just because I know where we are. We are at Thanksgiving and we're approaching Christmas. But for the turkey, if you have a turkey that is 4 to 12 pounds, it's gonna take 1 to 3 days to thaw that turkey in the refrigerator. I'm gonna repeat that. If you have a turkey that is 4 to 12 pounds, it's gonna take 1 to 3 days inside that refrigerator for it to thaw.
And that's not a big turkey.
No, that's not a big turkey.
So yeah, you can't be on the last minute on that.
3 to 4 days, 16 to 20, 4 to 5 days, 20 to 24 pounds, 5 to 6 days. So that's almost a week. So please pay attention to those thawing times. You can also go online and look up those thawing times because they are important.
Right, and we have provided some handouts that Brandy, who is watching on the backside, producing our show today, is going to be sharing some links with you as far as proper cooking methods, internal temperatures, thawing times, and different things like that. So we also have a full staff FCH department here, Dr. Sandra Davis, and we have BLT agents, we have Miss Amanda, we have Miss Laura, we have Miss Christina, we have Miss Jasmine. So any of those ladies would be glad to answer any of your cooking questions, any of your food safety questions or anything like that. Don't be afraid to come in or call with your questions, and they will be glad to help you out with that. So yes, we have a question.
Question is, what happens right now?
So the question is, how far in advance can they buy a turkey and keep it in the fridge if they don't have really the room to store something like that?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
It really depends on the size, because we've already gone over the thawing time inside the fridge. So honestly, I would suggest that you start making room.
Yeah. And
no more than 3 additional days.
Right.
Just to be on the safe side, I would definitely say no more than 3 additional days. And especially if you plan on frying those turkeys, you need that turkey thawed.
Yeah. And don't think that I'm trying to cause a stir with people going out and getting their turkeys right now or anything. I'm just letting those people know who have the space and everything, they can go out and start getting those better deals maybe before the prices really go up and different things like that. So if you don't have the accommodations for it, don't stress out or anything. The holidays aren't about stress. It'll work out. you know. And then, you know, a lot of people are, you know, switching to, they're not really white meat people or dark meat people or something. A lot of people are switching to turkey breast,
Right.
and people are switching to maybe like two meats, two proteins per meal and stuff like that. They might have a beef, you know, and they might have a turkey or something, or a gumbo and different things. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So are you more white meat or dark meat?
I'm a dark meat girl, and honestly, I will take a chicken thigh over turkey.
Mm.
But I'm just saying, you can always use chicken. They are smaller. And actually, I was trying to convince my family to go with Cornish hens
The
this
Cornish
year, but
hens, yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna fall for it, but I'll keep y'all posted.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So, you know, we talked a little bit about food safety and everything, and really keeping the family safe from E. coli, salmonella, and different things like that. One of the things that we really want to stress today is checking the internal temperature of the meats and so forth. The days of just being able to open the oven, Kiki, and just kind of say, well, it's been there for 2 hours, it should be done, you know, kind of type thing. Then you're going to cut into it, and it's like juices flowing all over the place. So what do you think about that?
No, we're not doing that anymore. We are using a thermometer. Absolutely. These are everywhere. You can find these everywhere, anywhere. We are not.
They are Bluetooth
I'm not saying-
compatible now.
Yes, they are Bluetooth compatible. And I'm not saying this particular one, but there are all types of thermometers out there that you can use. Like these are. This is your best friend. Should always be in your pocket. Should always be somewhere on you, because this is a lifesaver. Honestly, believe it or not. And this is what you're going to use. You're going to use a thermometer, and you're going to stick it in the
thickest part.
The thickest part of the meat. And I use my fist because I want you to see it needs to be thick, so it can go in the thickest part, so you can get the true temperature of the meat, so you'll know. And we are.
You don't want to get it next to the bone or anything. You want to make sure it stays in the flesh. You want to try and stay out of any of the fatty parts.
Yes.
Make sure it goes in the meat muscle itself to be able to give you a true temperature. All right.
Yes.
So,
our poultry, 165. Our beef, 145. Lamb, because I know lamb is also a big one. We didn't talk about lamb, but lamb is really a big popular meat right now. And our seafood, our ground beef, 155. So yeah.
So, you know, going on that idea. So we talked a little bit about door prizes. So for a couple door prizes today, if you don't have a meat thermometer, this is going to be a great time to get one, Kiki, because we are giving you a meat thermometer today. So if you fill out the survey and you want to be included in the drawing, you can go ahead and enter for one of 2 meat thermometers that we're going to be giving away. And like I said, these are really, really good. You can never have too many meat thermometers, right?
Never.
And because it's like glasses, you always forget where you put the last pair, and they're on top of your head or something like that. So, meat thermometers, again, they don't have to be super expensive. They pretty much all do the same thing. It depends on how much you want to spend on it. You can get them everywhere from Amazon to Walmart. So it really doesn't matter where you go. So door prize is giving away 2 meat thermometers. Make sure you fill out the survey and be included with your address and stuff like that. So that's the big thing there. So what we're going to do now, Kiki, is we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about some cuts of beef, or cuts of meat actually. And we're going to kind of do a little comparison, and we're going to, for those of you who go to the grocery store and really spend a lot of time looking in the meat section, the meat coolers and different things like that, we're going to give you a couple tips that maybe you might not be familiar with, or some that you might be familiar with, and maybe you just need to be reminded and stuff like that. So we have 2 different packages of meat here. We have a package of pork chops, pork over on this side, and then we have a package of beefsteak here. So one of the things that I want to talk to you a little bit about, first of all, is you can see easily the comparison or the difference of coloration in the meat. Pork is always going to be a lighter color meat, and there's no rhyme or reason to that. It's just pork. That's the way it is. Beef is always going to be your darker colored meat. So obviously, in looking for beef, You're going to have some marbling that is going to be shown around in here. So that's your grains of fat. You're not going to see that so much as over here on your pork and stuff.
Right.
And then so that's an easy way to kind of, in case you're not, familiar with the meat scene, and you're maybe a new wife or a new mother or a teenager just starting out in cooking and stuff like that. That's a good way to tell the difference in packaging and stuff. So what else on the package should we be aware of, Kiki? Some things. It's got a label on it, so that's a good thing.
Right. We should be paying attention to the sell-by date.
Yeah.
As well as the package on date and the expiration dates. Those are really important. And also just looking at the different colors of the meat and looking for, like, if you see accumulated juices under the meat, that means that it's been there for a minute.
Yeah.
And as well as make sure you look at the package, make sure it's sealed. You don't want any package that's broken or been resealed, because I've seen packages that have had holes in them and that they've resealed them.
Because this is not really heavy plastic wrap that's put on here, guys.
Right.
So if it has a bone protruding or something, it could easily poke the paper.
Right.
And then you could have leakage there. You could have, that's whenever the meat will start changing color, is whenever oxygen hits the meat. And then that's whenever you'll see sometimes in the grocery store, you'll have a piece of meat that maybe might look a little bit more grayish or bluish or something like that. More than likely, the time what happens there is a small cut somewhere that you don't really notice on the package of meat that is letting that oxygen in there, and that oxidation is taking place. Again, like Kiki talked about, the longer it sits there, the more juices will drain out of it. You can tell that these are pretty fresh. There's no juices flowing out of it.
And touch it so you can see how the meat bounces.
Yeah,
right? That shows the freshness.
Go ahead and touch it and everything like that. Pick it up, smell it. It should have it should not have any odor to it at all. A little tip that I will notice too, especially get to know the grocery store that you go out at. Especially now they're putting a lot of produce out every day, but whenever it gets to be out of the holiday time where there's not as much turnover from the meat and everything, there's certain days that new meat will be put out and stuff like that. So, and they always put the new meat in the back.
In the back.
All right. So little tip there, if you're always looking for the best date, kind of do a little digging in the back. Don't go and start throwing meat around and different things like that.
Go in there and stay at this grocery store. But what we're saying is, if you want a little more fresher meat, just go to the back. But if you get to moving meat, please try to put it back. These people are working hard. So just try not to damage packages or anything while you're looking. But just be careful. But go to the back for the freshest, because it's back there.
Also on there is safe handling instructions in case you might not be aware of those. Those are in the fine print. But again, that information will be on the flyers that we'll submit to you and everything like that as well. So, one thing that I want to talk about real quick is the importance of becoming an independent butcher now. Those have become a lot more prominent in our communities and so forth like that ever since COVID. And so a lot of people really want to know where their food comes from,
and who's handling it.
And who's handling it, right, and so forth, because we can't see what's in the backside of the grocery store whenever they're back there wrapping these up and everything. And we take advantage. We trust them that, they're doing it right and everything. And there's food safety laws that they have to abide by and everything like that. But there are other opportunities, and you will find independent meat markets around and stuff like that. One that I want to promote is with Texas A&M AgriLife, or Texas A&M University, and it's actually Rosenthal Meat Center up on campus, and they have a November special running right now. So Dr. Davey Griffin and them do a great job. All their meat is sourced locally, and it is sourced on site. It's fabricated on site, and so it doesn't stay long. It's not on shelves long or anything like that. They have some really good specials going on right now. So if anybody's interested in driving up to College Station, it's a nice drive. You can be there in about 45 minutes, an hour, and go and pick up a prime rib. They're actually selling for Thanksgiving right now, pre-cooked prime rib roasts, halves or wholes, and they're also cooking and selling hams and so forth. So if anybody wants the information, the flyer on that, we can definitely get you that. And again, this is not the only one in our community. There are plenty others out there. If you're not watching in Texas, make sure you check around in your local area. I'm sure there's other opportunities for you to get local sourced meat and stuff like that.
And it's always good to just walk into your local meat market. There are several around here.
Get to know your butcher.
Get to know your butcher.
The
Just walk in
days of,
there
yeah.
and just compare. I mean, just going into a local butcher and comparing what you're getting from the grocery store. And I'm never going to knock what's at the grocery store because that's always available to us.
Right.
Most of the grocery stores are open 24 hours a day. So
Right.
that's always, there for us to go to. But just every once in a while, just go check out your local butcher.
Because they have some really good cuts.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff that you might not see in the grocery store, and you have the availability to have them actually cut it the way you want.
Yes.
Or if it's trimmed, if it's a brisket or something like that.
Right.
Or if you only want dark meat or
Right.
something, you can probably get that from them. If you want a particular type of sausage or something, those are all options.
Yes,
opportunities that-
several
yeah.
options. And just like oxtails, like I just prefer to go to the local butcher and get my oxtails because I know how I want them cut. So that's just my preference.
Yep. Good idea and good point. All right. Paul,
Any questions?
Any
Any
other questions or
comments?
anything?
Y'all still with us?
Okay. Does anybody have any special holiday traditions they'd like to share with us? Or if not, we're going to go ahead and move on, but know that you can post those in the chat box. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and continue our discussion and talk a little bit about some common meats that are used in holiday meals and stuff like that. And, we kind of get siloed sometimes, Kiki, that we're thinking, just turkey or ham.
Yes.
Sometimes ham is kind of like a fall thing, but more like an Easter thing, but hams are out now. And we can go from anywhere from the lower price cuts of meat to all the way to the high price cuts of meat and different things like that. So we could talk about grass fed, we could talk about grain fed, we can just talk about regular cuts of beef. It depends on your budget.
Yes.
But again, there is really not that much difference, guys, between grass fed and just regular beef and so forth like that. Once it's in the pot, and unless you tell everybody that you're cooking that this is grass-fed beef, I promise you, they are not going to take that first bite of prime rib or steak or T-bone or anything like that and say, oh, I can recognize this is grass-fed meat over, just regular grocery store beef.
I know I'm not walking in talking about this grass-fed. I'm just walking in ready to eat. So yes, definitely.
Yeah. So, let's go ahead. We kind of talked a little bit about poultry already. We talked about the Cornish hens as being an option. We talked about turkeys. But one thing that we didn't talk about, most times cooking turkeys is in a roaster or in the oven or anything like that. But past couple years, the frying the turkey has gotten to be really popular among consumers and so forth. But it is one of the most dangerous methods out there.
Yes, it is. And it's every year after Thanksgiving, that's when you see all the little clips of all the gone wrong fried turkeys. And that's what we're trying to prevent. Just make sure that you guys make sure that turkey is thawed. Once again, going back to the thawing process, make sure it's thawed and make sure you are taking all the proper precautions for frying turkeys.
Yeah. And, in addition to the thawing, whenever you're putting that grease in that pot, realize that you're putting a 20-pound turkey in there. So you're dealing with volume and an object that is going to go in there. Think about a glass full of Coke, and then you go and start putting ice cubes in it.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen to that Coke? It's going to spill over.
Everywhere.
All right. Same thing is going to happen with that grease, but the only thing with that is there's a fire underneath.
Fire, you getting burned or you burning someone else.
Yeah.
So just make sure you are following proper precautions.
Not a bad idea to have a fire extinguisher on site. Make sure that there are no kids in the area or anything playing that can actually bump or anything like that. Make sure you have flame retardant clothes or gloves or anything like that. Again, this is a good method, but there are plenty of places that offer fried turkeys and so forth. So, unless you're one of these people that have to do it yourself, I would look into other ways of doing it. I think there's a couple restaurant chains chains that that do the
Yes.
fried turkeys and stuff. And now they've introduced the oilless
The olive
fryers,
fryers.
which has come a long way, and it's a lot safer. It does the same job. You can actually put not only turkeys in there, but you can put beef in there. You
Yes.
can put a prime rib in there, and it will cook it excellent. I've had it before, and it is really, really good. So the opportunities are endless for the all-less fryers and everything. So if you've not tried those before, it is definitely an investment that you might want to look into. So you know,
I've
keep that
even
in
had
mind.
smoked turkeys.
Yep, smoked turkeys.
And they were just great. Probably for me, probably the best is the smoked turkey. It's also less work, and it's also, not
Yeah.
as dangerous as the grease
Right,
in
right.
frying the
But
turkey.
and it's a different, you know, something that you're not used to,
Yes,
you know, and
Texas,
yeah,
we like our smoke.
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. So talking about pork roast, you know, we talked about that already. That's one of my favorites. It's easy to marinate, to stuff. One of my favorite tricks that I do with pork roast that my dad and my mom showed me, Kiki, is I make a little seasoning mix, usually with some vinegar, some salt, pepper, cut up some onions, bell pepper, and everything, and make like a little mix with it in a little bowl. And then I'll come in and I usually get like a Boston butt, which is a really good roast, with bone in kind of type thing. And then I'll come there and it's already defrosted, it's already thawed and stuff. And I'll make little slits, probably about an inch or two into it, not very big, just using a little paring knife. And then take some of that mix and stuff it in that little slit. And you go around that roast and you do that about 8 to 10 times, depending on the size of the roast. And then, so what it does is actually pulls that flavor that's already in the meat, and it tenderizes it the same times as it seasons it. So you don't just have that seasoning on the outside, you have it actually in the meat and everything.
Have you ever injected?
We have injected before, and that's a good option too. That's really popular on the market as well.
Yes.
Really good, big with turkeys and stuff like that as well.
But I also inject my pork roast.
Okay, awesome.
And I'll do the slits also, but that's where I'll put my onion and my garlic in there. But I like to inject it also.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
very good. The next thing we talk about, maybe a little bit non-traditional, but being from South Louisiana, it was very popular for us, and we only had it a couple times a year because it can be expensive. Seafood gumbo.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know some people have allergies to seafood and everything, so that's unfortunate, but we'll eat enough for you.
Well,
But
it can be chicken and sausage.
there you go,
gumbo.
chicken and
It's
sausage.
okay.
There you go.
Chicken
Yeah.
and sausage
I always
gumbo will
forget about
work.
that. So, but you know, the Texas Gulf Coast is rich in
yes.
seafood, everything from oysters to shrimps to crab. So you can really, really pile it on and make a good gumbo there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is beef. You know, Texas is known for its beef. We are the largest beef producing state in the United States. We contribute roughly about $12.36 billion a year annually to agriculture impact. So that's how much beef is actually produced here in the state of Texas.
Wow.
And obviously, not only all of that is eaten here in the United States, but we import or export actually a lot of beef to Mexico. We ship a lot of beef over to the Asian countries and so forth like that. So again, when we talk about Texas agriculture feeding not only the state and the United States, but feeding the world, we literally do mean feeding the world and so forth like that.
That's great.
You know, another product that does really well in the state is the poultry and the broiler industry. And they contribute roughly about $2.9 billion annually. So yeah, we're talking major economic impacts, and this all trickles down into local businesses where people spend their money and different things like that. So it's not just at one level, all that money trickles down in different ways. So getting back to the beef roast, you know, the pièce de résistance, I guess, for, you know, taking it out and really blowing it out the water, you know, is the prime rib. You know, everybody has their different temperature or degree of doneness, I guess. I've seen it everywhere from still mooing to
Okay.
to kind of brown. Some people like the horseradish sauce. Some people don't, like my sister. I don't mind it.
I don't like it.
there's
Sandra does. I
there's
don't.
there's different variations of horseradish, obviously, and everything like that. But the best way to cook prime rib is slow
Slow
and low.
and low.
All right. So putting it at a temperature of about 350 in the oven, and cooking it to the number or the weight. So if you're talking about a 4 to 5 pound prime rib roast, and what you're basing it on is a prime rib is going to basically be a rack of ribeyes.
Mhm.
All right. It's going to be your rib roast. And so a prime rib still has the bone on it. So the beef industry recommends that you do 1 bone per 2 people. So if you have 6 people, you should have about a 3 bone prime rib roast. And then, so it's going to be based on the weight of that prime rib. Now, keep in mind too, a lot of people don't think about this too, Kiki, is the cooking still actually happens
After
once
you
you
take it
take it out the oven.
Right.
So you never want to overcook, especially something that you're going to be spending $20 a pound on or
Yes.
something like that, because that will really ruin it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, and then also letting it rest.
Letting it rest. That is so important. Do not just go and cut into that meat.
Yeah.
Please don't.
About 10 to 15 minutes is usually what recommended, because you want those juices to go back into the meat, where whenever you cut into it, all that's got to be on your plate and stuff like that.
Right.
Because that's all natural flavor, guys. You don't want to pass up on that. So
And don't be afraid of that.
yeah, don't be afraid of it. That's where you get your au jus from and
Yes,
everything.
that's your au jus.
Yeah, speaking all French this morning.
Oh, yes.
But
I tell people all the time, give me a recipe and I could be anywhere in the world.
there you go.
Yes.
There you go. But there's so many different ways that you can cook beef. We talked about grilling earlier.
Mhm.
We're lucky we're in an environment where grilling or barbecuing is actually available to us almost year round,
Yes,
down
great
here. If
temperature.
we wanted to barbecue some ribeyes or T-bones or something for the holidays, we can do that. I guess people up north can, maybe Paul can attest to this. I don't know, up in the snow, on the back porch, maybe up to a couple feet of snow or something, got the
How
grill
was
going.
that, Paul?
If you want it bad enough.
And you're right about that.
If you want it bad enough, he said, you will get it. That's true. That is true.
Good.
So, and keep in mind too, there's so many different cuts of beef out there now than
Yes.
there was a couple years ago, 10, 15 years ago, whenever my mom and dad were shopping. The beef industry has really done a good job of working with industry leaders, like, say, for example, like at Texas A&M Rosenthal Center and everything, and coming up with new cuts of beef for the skirt steak and the flank steak, and the cuts of meat aren't as big, because the families aren't as big
Right.
anymore. The family size has shrunk down to maybe 2, 3, 4 people kind of type thing, unless when you come for the holidays. So you don't need that big piece of meat or anything more. So they're cutting those down and making it more manageable, more usable, and different things like that. So, we are coming to the conclusion of our presentation. Have you had a good time today?
Already?
I know.
Yes, it's always a great time talking food with you.
I know. Well, question.
Two favorites.
Okay.
That they like for the holidays. Potato pie.
Oh,
Ah,
yes.
And
We
then
have
the
the sweet
other one-
potatoes on the table.
And then the other one is Waldorf salad.
Oh.
Okay, so some favorites coming in: sweet potato pie and Waldorf salad.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had Waldorf salad.
I had it in high school. We had to make it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Hmm,
Quite
very good.
interesting.
I love sweet potatoes, and sweet potatoes are very, very, very good for you. If you think carrots are good for you, because they're orange, sweet potatoes are packed with nutrients, guys. A lot of this food that's up here on our table, we don't even get to talk about the nutrient value of beef and everything, but beef is packed with nutrient value. Everything from B6 to B12 to iron to protein. Guys, you do not want to skip beef. There's actually studies now where young babies are being fed beef earlier on for brain development and so forth like that. So a lot of studies with that, the Beef Council, Texas Beef Council has been doing with that. And so riboflavin, niacin, you know, all those good nutrients and everything like that, that your body needs to act and to be normal,
To maintain.
you know, to maintain, right? And definitely beef has it. Yes. Any more questions
Yes.
or comments?
So Randy's favorite is homemade noodles and mashed potatoes.
You tell Brandy, we're gonna have to talk about that a little later. Homemade noodles.
She's a Yankee.
So
Don't
would that be
forget.
like gnocchi?
We're both speechless on that one.
It would have to be more like gnocchi.
I don't get it.
Have you ever had gnocchi?
Yeah,
Okay, that's what.
I know, but
Well, you know, everyone's not Southern. We have to reach out to everyone. Okay, we are not. You know, we're
Brandy,
not.
you're
We're
gonna
not
have to bring
shunning
us a sample into
non-Southerners.
the office. Okay.
Okay.
It's noodles cooking on top of mashed potatoes.
Oh, so it's noodles cooking in turkey broth on top of mashed potatoes.
Put 'em on top.
And
you
we
put it
all
on
gonna go
top
to
of the
sleep
mashed
after that,
potatoes.
because with all those carbs,
That's
you're
a
gonna be
lot of
knocked out.
carbs,
So that you're
man.
right, because that's what that's
I
what
have
we do. We
never heard
usually
of that dish
do a
before.
carb nap. So that would definitely do it, Brandy. Thank you.
That must be an Ohio thing.
That's okay.
Actually,
Ah,
All right,
okay,
Brandy.
okay.
You know.
Uh,
Thank
what-
you.
What about our cameraman? Does he have a favorite dish?
well, I'm from the. I'm
Ah,
eat dressing, whatever you put in front of me,
there you
Okay,
go.
Ghibli gravy or no?
that's what my mom.
Ghibli gravy. You have to have that Ghibli gravy. Yes, absolutely.
Very good, very good. Well, guys, this is the conclusion of our presentation today. We had a great time coming to you and sharing this
Yes.
information to you. And hopefully you will participate in our survey. And the lovely Kiki is highlighting our door prizes there. Remember, we're giving away 2 of them. And then we have an extra one for those people who have stayed to the very end. If you can answer this question, Brandy, the first person that types in the answer to this question, and I didn't tell her the answer to it, but she can call them out, I guess. What is the state fruit for Texas? If you're online and you enter, tell us your ideas, and Paul's going to read them out, and I'll tell you whenever. But we'll go ahead and wrap it up, and Paul's going to keep watching the chat box, and if nobody answers it before we close out, we'll give you an answer. But with that being said, Kiki, I had a great time with you.
Always,
You're always
Shannon.
welcome to come back.
Thank you.
And yes, Paul. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, red grapefruit.
Ruby red.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
awesome.
My favorite.
Who was
fruit.
that? Oh, okay, okay. Well, we have a winner. All right. The ruby red grapefruit is the state fruit for Texas.
Awesome.
And just in case you're wondering, the state official fiber is cotton. There you
Okay,
go. That's
cotton.
going to win you some money one of these days when you have it.
Cotton.
And the official state vegetable, what would your guess be?
Vegetable.
Yeah. It's on our table in front of you.
Corn.
No. That's a good one
Squash.
though. No.
I'm waiting.
Onions.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Onions?
yeah,
Okay.
onions. So but anyway, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. Happy holidays to everybody. Happy
holidays,
cooking.
Happy cooking.
Be safe. Make
Happy
some family
eating.
family memories.
Memories.
There you go.
Yes.
And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our home economists, our FCH agents, our BLT agents. They'll be glad to help you out with any turkey questions or any thawing or cooking questions. But we did want to share this with you. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and you want to say bye, Kiki?
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thanks for
everybody.
joining. Make that room in that refrigerator.
There you go.